Good evening, guys. My name's Stephen Hancock. I'm the co-founder and COO of MelodyVR. I'm going to take you on a 20-minute verbal journey of our 5 years thus far in the VR space and finish with a 5-minute Q&A because I've unfortunately got to shoot off to another meeting the second I've finished. So firstly, thank you ever so much for having us along today. I'm really excited to tell you all a little bit more about what we do. For those of you that don't know Melody, we're the only licensed virtuality music platform in existence in the world, and we launched earlier this year. I'm going to take you sort of on all the amazing steps, including a bit of rights management, that got us to where we got to. We co-founded the company with the simple vision of allowing a music fan and an artist to engage in a way that had never been possible, putting you on stage with your favourite artist from the comfort of your own home, allowing you to stand next to the lead singer, the drummer, the guitarist in the pit in full VR 360 and with the ability to real-time switch around the venue. Outside of live, we also work in recording studios and jet planes and tour buses and all the things you'd love to do with your favourite artist, basically giving you unobtainable access to your favourite shows. The core sort of value was founded by myself and my co-founder Anthony. My background is music. I was the commercial manager for Ibiza Rocks for way too many years, if I'm perfectly honest. And prior to that, I had a music-based hospitality company that I was fortunate enough to exit from about 7 or 8 years ago now. So always been in the music space. The opportunity we saw was kind of twofold, really. One, from a content angle. Anthony's background's very much from that world, from a tech world. He used to work for Ubisoft and Microsoft and King and had seen the progression of VR. The line in the sort of sand came for us when Facebook made the acquisition of Oculus about 7 years ago now for the non-insignificant sum of $3 billion and really put that sort of mark to say, you know, no more false starts. There'd been attempts in the 70s, 80s, 90s, noughties, and none had really taken off, mainly because the market was a very different place. It was very physical, and technology wasn't in place. But that was kind of the line in the sand to go, look, there's an opportunity here. I think the angle Anthony initially saw was he was working out on the West Coast and had been lucky enough to be in the offices of Google and Samsung and HTC and Apple and Facebook and Oculus and seeing what was going on. And no one had really looked, and rightly so from a hardware point, slightly further down the ecosystem and the food chain as to why would this become a mainstream consumer piece of adopted tech if there was no content to consume. So that was Anthony's sort of light bulb moment, and we all know music helps in selling hardware. I guess mine came, worth saying, Anthony and I are friends since school, so I woke up one morning to about 17 missed calls on my phone when he was in the West Coast, and I thought, Christ, he's either in serious trouble or he's got an excellent idea. And he sort of said, look, you've got to come and meet me out in San Francisco and see this incredible technology. And I was suitably intrigued. The opportunity I think I saw, certainly from a music rights holder standpoint, my time at Ibiza Rocks, for those of you that may or may not know it, it's a venue predominantly Ibiza, although it has a few other hotel properties, and it was a live music space. It was low cap, so 3,000 capacity, but we would have Ed Sheeran's, we would have Rudimentals, Ellie Goulding's, massive artists coming through, so you can imagine tickets sold out incredibly quick. As a venue on an island, we were quite geographically restricted, so you would announce what we were doing in Ibiza and you'd have Mallorca or Menorca or mainland residents go, oh, I wish I could get to those shows. And then we also would be exposed to, for those of you that are in the music space will know it well, and even non-so, you see it in the press a lot, the secondary ticket market. It's an absolute nightmare in our space. Our gig value tickets used to be €50, and we would see like 18, 19-year-old kids paying €500 to get into an Ed Sheeran gig, which really doesn't sit well with anyone in the right space because that uplift's going to no one that should be seeing it. And finally, sort of age restrictions, geographical, and I kind of had a light bulb moment from a VR perspective that I thought it doesn't matter how old you are, where you live, how much money you have, or if a show's sold out, we could actually make music truly accessible on a global basis in a way that had never been done. And that was our two kind of light bulb moments. I'll jump forward to today and I'll fill in a fair amount of the gaps. We've worked with over 700 international recording artists in the last 4 years. We've built and curated the world's largest virtuality music library, somewhere between probably 7,000 to 10,000 hours at a quick guess. And we've secured the only licenses in the world with the major record labels, larger independents and publishers to commercially do what we do. Going back to very early days, our first issue was really, how the hell were we going to do this? We had quite a good idea. I'd sense-checked it with quite a lot of friends at labels and artists, and they all said, look, it's a super cool proposition, but Christ, you're going to have a bit of a journey on that way to get it to where it got to. So the journey was very much born. Problem one we had was physically capturing the content. Any sort of camera technology that existed for 360 or VR capture was literally size of coffee tables. I knew we were going to gain zero traction speaking to rights holders, promoters, venues, artists, labels, to say, hey, can I put all these massive cameras over your stage and I promise it won't affect the real show, or can I get into your recording studio? The answer was going to be unanimous no. So we set about R&Ding our own camera technology, which we still use today. It's around about the size of a small grapefruit, and it can be integrated into stage sets, recording studios, all those unique places that you couldn't get. Films in super high resolution for an infinite amount of time, so it doesn't have impact on the main event of the live show. The second massive problem again, and became a huge milestone, was obviously building the platform. We were very conscious as a tech startup that outsourcing any element of what we wanted to do was not going to be without its challenges, and the second anyone sort of didn't really understand our vision, what we knew was going to be a tough journey, there was a risk it was going to be derailed. So neither Anthony nor I are particularly coders or engineers by trade, so we set about seeing what our best solution was really. We were fortunate enough to acquire our engineering team quite early on, and that's grown from 3 people to probably about 37 globally now. The platform's completely hardware agnostic, so we're in partnership with all the major hardware players, and if you want music, it's us. In terms of how we approach that, we wanted to make it accessible, we wanted to make it work, so there's kind of a few approaches on how we've done that. The content library that's live today, and we launched on the 1st of May on a device called the Oculus Go. That's a Facebook-owned device, and we launched with them as a partner at F8 earlier this year. We'd waited for that moment for a few reasons, really. Prior to the Oculus Go, there was nothing that was sort of consumer-facing. Any of the hardware was a few £1,000s, quite cumbersome, had wires, needed sensors in the roof. The average music fan wasn't going to go out and pay £2,500 to access a show. So we wanted to wait for that inflection point of consumer hardware, and that was in the form of Oculus Go, which, as I say, shipped earlier this year. It was $199, which was a massive step change from the £2,500 it was just a few months before. The way we approached the business model, and I think the Kobalt presentation before very much highlighted the challenges and the highs and lows that exist in the rights space. We knew we were an emerging piece of tech. We had to make it as attractive to everyone in the rights chain as possible to be able to get to where we got to. So our business model is built in the way that we fund all content creation. I'll come on to our sort of funding journey shortly. And with that in mind, there's obviously sort of no immediate upfront risk to any of the rights holders, but at the point the content goes live, there's a monetization model with a rights holder revenue split on content sales. The way the app works from the library, it's VOD, so you can buy individual tracks, you can buy whole shows at price points, and there's a revenue cascade. The beauty for us in terms of where we're at, we're not a Spotify, we're not an Apple Music that's licensing 40 million backtracks. We know exactly what's going onto the platform, and within reason have a pretty good take on who all of the songwriters are, who the artists are, so it's a lot easier to manage the data as we grow, as opposed to sort of inheriting the existing issues that exist in DSPs. Outside of sort of the content library, and that exists from live shows, so you can go back and watch a show at Madison Square Gardens, go to the O2, go to Staples, go to Coco. Within the application, we give the user the ability to decide their journey. So you can, we call them jump spots, you can be next to the lead singer, the guitarist, the drummer in the pit. So giving you a truly immersive experience that before this has never really existed. The reason it was quite attractive to the industry, it's a completely incremental revenue line. So in historical, when streaming came online, it was obviously starting to attack other revenue lines, but with a new content format, we were approached in a very different way in the fact that it was new revenue, it wasn't existing, that was being taken from somewhere else. Outside of the content library, we've also built interactive worlds, so giving you presence to be able to pick up a guitar with your favourite performer and learn to play with them, or sit next to a certain female soloist that we haven't released yet and play the piano next to her. So giving you really, again, inaccessible access to your favourite music. Moving forward and sort of coming into what's happening in the next couple of months, something that Anthony and I thought would always be incredible and really, truly accessible. When physical tickets sell out, there is a frustration from artists, from fan, from everyone again involved. And we thought, wouldn't it be amazing if you could actually view that show real time as it's happening? So coming in the next couple of months is our first real-time live gig. So Imagine physical tickets sell out to the O2, you can switch to a digital real-time VR ticket with a limitless capacity. To give you some context on supply and demand in the music space, I'll use probably the best case study. The last ever Led Zeppelin gig at the O2 in 2007, 22,000 physical tickets were applied for 24 million individual times. The average ticket was changing price for £8,000 a ticket, and 2 front row tickets went for £88,000. So there is a huge disconnect, and you see it with Adele's, with Ed's, with anyone. Their tickets sell out in absolutely minutes. So we're really, really excited to bring something really fresh and new in the next couple of months. I'll touch a little bit briefly on the rights landscape. It's certainly a challenging one, and without the deals that we've got with the labels, we simply couldn't do what we do. So we've worked very closely from day one. The deals took a moment to get done. They weren't sort of remastering an existing deal, so we had to spend a lot of time and work together to work out what that looked like. But without that, we simply just couldn't do what it is that we do. In terms of VR market, where it is today and where it's going to, when we got into the space, there was less than 300,000 physical VR devices in existence. The accepted figure today is somewhere between 40 and 50 million. The accepted figure, again, looking at Goldman Sachs reports and similar, is over 350 million devices in daily use by the end of 2021. So exponential growth and some between now and the next sort of couple of years. What that means from a consumer standpoint, obviously we've approached it from the music angle. There is so much opportunity, and when you have the likes of a Facebook behind it that are truly driving it, in our opinion, for the good as opposed to anything else. At F7, I think it was last year, Zuckerberg stood on stage and said he personally pledges to get 1 billion people into VR over the coming decade. It's sentiments like that that certainly help drive it. Again, I said we're approaching it from the music angle, but Mark's vision is to have it as the 21st century browser. His example he used is, you will no longer go on Google and research the pyramids in the school project. You will put on a VR device and you will walk around the pyramids and you'll see them. And it really sort of gives you the feeling of what's to come. I guess as a business, we get approached every day from sport, theatre, travel, education, porn, health, just about everything you can imagine. For us, it's about music. We're all music people. We're a music company powered by technology. We've been fortunate enough to grow from myself and Anthony to around about 75 heads globally, which has been a fantastic journey for us. We've got quite a few Spotify people in our building now, a fair few label people, and obviously a lot of engineers from Google's and Microsoft's and Sony's, so a really amazing team. How we kind of approached our journey in terms of finance, fortunate enough to be self-funded for a little while, quite early on, after both Anthony and I had taken the crazy entrepreneurial step and the second time in my life at the age of 30 to sell everything and give it a go again. We realised we were going to need a lot more money than we had. So again, we were fortunate enough to attract some early seed money from 2 music high net worths who are still quite actively involved in the business today, and then had the quite unique opportunity to become publicly listed very, very, very early on in our journey. So around about 2.5 years ago, we floated on the London Stock Exchange, and it's meant we can raise the finance that we've needed to grow the team, to grow the journey, and really educate the market as to what's to come. We're fortunate enough to raise around about $70 million over the last couple of years. It's a hot space. From our standpoint, it's something that will be used on a daily basis very, very soon. And it's been a great sort of time to see it grow, see all of the new hardware. I think the exciting thing for us, I can refer back to the Oculus Go, shipped at 199, and its UK launch was the 26th of June this year. The quality, the cost will continue to improve as technology always does. The headsets will get smaller, lighter, cheaper, better quality. But for those of you that haven't experienced us, we've got a iOS companion app which you can find on the App Store. It's just MelodyVR, and it gives you a little insight to what the full proposition is. So you can see some 2D 360 clips of everything that's on the library, and it takes you on a journey as to what we are all about. So yeah, touching on that before, live is our next sort of big milestone pre-Christmas. We've also got a few territorial launches to come, so we're live in 10 countries currently, and that will be growing throughout the coming months and into next year.